Hello and welcome back to Talk Sessions with Anil Grover and me, Preeti Ayyappan. Today we have picked up a topic which is concerned to. I mean, usually we usually go for topics where like many people are discussing something and trying to understand what's going on. So today's topic. Vitamin D. So, a lot of people know how much vitamin D is a key role in our health. And why are we talking so much about vitamin D in the last two? Because many people thought that vitamin D has to do with bone health, and it's a sunshine vitamin. But does it have anything to do with COVID? And do we need vitamin D supplements or like the nutrient during COVID times? So these questions will be answered today by Anil. And let's jump into the session and talk more and learn more.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so at the moment, everyone seems to have jumped onto the bandwagon of D, and left and right, people are dosing themselves with D and mega doses and injections. But one should know that in nature, you don't get anything, just one separate thing. So nothing works alone. It works in tandem with many other vitamins and nutrition. So just going, like blindfolded for one thing can also cause negative effects, debilitating, problematic symptoms, consequences. So let us understand more about it today in a simple manner, which we can take home and implement it. Normally was prescribed only for bone health, and the deficiency long time ago led to rickets. That's all now almost gone away. But last few years we see is being now coming up more for immune health. But as a functional medicine practitioner background education, we always used it for immune health, because the vitamin D receptors are not only in the, let's say, to do with the bone, it's in all the cells of the body, muscles everywhere. And they also are, normally active D is produced, metabolized or synthesized, converted in the kidney, right? But it also gets synthesized and ready for activation, that is D1, 25 hydroxy D3, the active form, in cells in the body influenced by cytokines. Cytokines are signaling cells for immunity. So last 2 years, everything was to do with immunity. Right. So research also brought that up, So it is the moment in the body inflammation goes up, cytokines will go up. So D will also be influenced to be produced. D is produced in the skin from ultraviolet rays falling on cholesterol, and that then goes to the liver. And in the liver, it gets hydroxy D2, D3, and that then goes to the kidneys and gets active over there. But despite this, it happens all over the body also. When immunity, when our inflammation is very high, as I just said that. So yes, if that time D3 levels are low, the body cannot suppress the over-inflammation in the body, which happens when the viral load becomes too much. And it has some other roles also, but the question at the moment was about immunity, so it has a direct connection with immunity.
So not just through doctor's prescription or health coach recommending it. people are self-medicating vitamin D. So they're like, oh, it's a very key nutrient. So let me. So in that scenario, uh, is there a chance that it can give any side effects, or will it cause any toxicity? Overdosed, underdosed, or the wrong vitamin D being taken by anyone?
Yes, for D, we have to be very careful with toxicity because it is a fat soluble vitamin. Actually, it is a hormone, not a vitamin. So it's a fat soluble substance and which does not get excreted easily through the urine. Like unlike the B vitamins, if it's extra, it goes out. But this remains in the body, in the cells, and it can lead to toxicity and problems. But the first question is the amount what we are taking in. First of all, the best way to take it is through sunlight, right? But okay, if that's not possible, then supplementation is either D2 or D3. D2 is the plant-based coming from mushrooms or is manufactured by ergosterol extracted from yeast and ultraviolet rays put onto it will make D2. People who are totally don't want animal-based products, or otherwise it is D3, which is produced from again ultraviolet light falling on the sheep's skin in lanolin, which produces D3 and is extracted, and that's how we take it. But the most important thing is, even if I'm having supplements, D3 or any supplement, is it getting absorbed or is it just going for a waste? Many other factors come into play. First of all, I'm not only having D3 the whole day, I'm having my nutrition, everything. So first, whether it is vitamins, which I anyway from nutrition. So when I'm having my nutrition, the quality of nutrition and it being digested. So in this case, D3 digestion will be done with the help of fat enzymes. So that comes from pancreas, lipase, that comes from gallbladder, bile. So if these two things are compromised, if someone doesn't have a gallbladder, no bile stored, and someone is diabetic, so you see it's all getting connected. I'm having lots of D3, but diabetic, pancreas may not be fully healthy and producing enough lipase. So the D3 I'm taking, is it getting ready to be absorbed? Perhaps not. Okay, then if this was okay, this part was okay, it goes down. And if my gut health is not okay, if I have a small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, dysbiosis, so my small intestine lining may be compromised, may not be all that healthy. So that is where D3 goes in. From the small intestine, is absorbed over there. So that has to be healthy too. So once, okay, we presume it's absorbed well, then it has to be delivered and go into the cells. So cells health has to be okay. We have to have good, healthy fats so that our cell health is okay and the lining is okay. And then the cell D receptors have to be properly receptive, sensitive to take in the D3. So many factors are taking place if you just swallow a pill. And here we see so many factors take place till the D is reached D3 or D2, which is measured in the lab work. That is not the active form. That is not doing any action. It has to get converted. It's the body's wisdom. Body will convert when necessary the D2 into the active form, which is calcitrol, which only happens mainly in the kidneys. So now if my kidney health is compromised, I'm taking tablets, but that's not getting synthesized to the active form. Once it's synthesized into the active form, will it then act and do the work, the functions, that is the immune function, but the primary function is to absorb calcium into the blood from my diet. That is the work of D3. D3 helps to take in calcium from the blood into the bloodstream, and then the calcium is only going to float in the bloodstream, or the calcium has to go into the bones if I have taken it for bone health. And what takes calcium into the bones? vitamin K. So you see, it's working all together. Vitamin K is needed. So if I have just D and these things are missing, that can create a problem. Then we see another important vitamin. The receptors to take in D are also shared with vitamin A. A plays a very important role for immunity. So if I just overdose myself with D, when I see everyone is doing it, 60,000 units per week, per month, or per people, going overboard, maybe okay. But are there other things in balance? So if too much of D coming in, A is getting pushed out, but A plays an important role for immunity also. And the most important thing is that the conversion of inactive D3 into the active calcitriol D3, which happens in the kidney, is done with the enzyme which is totally dependent on magnesium. So now what will happen? Suddenly I hear all are taking D3 and I start also gulping in D3. And if I'm already deficient in magnesium, if magnesium is borderline, because magnesium is difficult to get because of soil depletion, so my magnesium is going to get sucked away for the conversion. So then I'm going to get the symptoms of magnesium deficiency. And magnesium deficiency symptoms are muscle contraction, spasm, magnesium, acid reflux, anxiety, sleep problem, headaches, relaxation. So just taking in D and not being able to understand the very delicate, wonderful body's rhythm, which is following to balance out everything together. Everything works together. And all these deficiencies can put us into more problems. So if we are healthy, the body is balancing it. But if I'm aged, already compromised, already weak, then the body cannot, because the body will always try to keep the correct amount of magnesium in the bloodstream is very important. The correct amount of calcium, because calcium also is used for muscle movement, muscle contraction. And when we bring muscles into our mind, muscles is not only my biceps and triceps, my heart is also a muscle. All the blood vessels are also supported with muscles to contract, so that is blood pressure. So it's all interconnected. So what I'm putting across here is the interconnection of the body's functioning. So another way, if one wants to supplement, first of all, is diet. But to make sure, if we are jumping into these, one has to be sure that A is also coming in, K is also coming in, magnesium one must make sure is there before I go into very high doses of D. So you'll come across some supplements manufactured by functional medicine system. The D will always have A and K with it, and magnesium with it. So even we manufacture supplements. So our supplement, something called immune defense, if you go to the website, you will see it has D, it has A, it has K, and it has magnesium. Along with others, right? So it's always good to, so if anyone wants to supplement themselves, a low dose would be okay, but nowadays it's all very high doses. So it's always better to go through functional medicine.
Now I have a question after listening to you that, like if you do overdo it, things can go wrong. So I'm a normal human being, my body is generating, it's a hormone. So body is generating vitamin D on a day-to-day basis. And then on top of that, I'm eating fatty fish and then mushrooms and all of that. But still, vitamin D can be less, or I'm even getting my sunshine vitamin every single day. I'm walking and all of that. But still, if I have without that, is it sufficient for me? Is there a way to test it? Do we have tests which can throw light on my vitamin D levels? Because I don't want to overdo it after listening to you.
Vitamin D, yes, should be tested. We can test it in our blood lab work, very basic, simple test, and then we should use it. And but when we are testing in the laboratory, the inactive form is being tested. The form which does not have action on in the cells, which the receptors, that is being tested because it's abundant in the blood and it is stable, and one can test it accurately. Some labs also test the D2 and the D3 form and then give the total D3. But what we want to know, okay, that can give a good guideline, right? That can give a good guideline. If it's within the range, one can supplement. And once one is supplemented, and after a few months can retest again, because excess will be stored, so that can lead to toxicity. But if someone is already compromised, aged, then one needs to do certain other tests to judge what is the active form in the body present or not.
Okay.
Right? So it's not very difficult, but it's normal. Doctors will do it.
There's a right way of doing it. Okay.
Yes, so someone aged, someone having kidney problems, someone, let us say, I could be taking in lots of D, but I have some kidney problems. So the active form is not getting ready in the kidney. So means I have to take care of that part instead of consuming more. So how do we come to know? The active form will be made when the parathyroid hormone from the parathyroid gland will send a signal that calcium has become less in the blood. Please make more active D3, and the active D3 will pull the calcium from my diet into the bloodstream. So it's balancing like that. So supposing my D3 shows not very high, but in the okay level, but my parathyroid hormone is not very high, it is just okay level, means it is not requiring to produce more hormone to make more D3 in the kidney. So means I can come to know, despite the inactive form being not very high, it doesn't need to be high, because my kidneys are converting enough active form, because the parathyroid gland is not producing more parathyroid hormone. It does not need to, because there is abundant calcium in the blood. Calcium is very important also. So they all are this all is being maintained by the body. So, and we can also naturally, because we see it is playing a very close role with calcium. So from the calcium is usually measured in the blood every time. It's a normal routine, this thing. So improper amounts of calcium can signal a problem with D3 status.
Right.
Because D3 pulls in calcium. And if I'm eating healthy, I'm getting enough calcium from green plants and soy milk, or it's abundant, it's no problem. So if that is somehow too high or too low, so it means it can signify that there's a problem with D3. So the D3 brings calcium into the bloodstream. So these are the ways it can be interconnected and checked and understood. The problem is not only to supplement with D3, but first to look into the kidney or my gut health. Why is calcium not coming in?
Right.
No? Like that. So not to confuse too much, but it's not just we just go after one. It's like the body works like an orchestra. So if someone is dosing with 400 IU international units, or maybe 1,000 nowadays, it's okay. But someone wants to go in for 10,000, 20,000 per day, or 60,000 per week regularly without testing, that is not advisable.
Yes. So it's all clear. We think that,
I hope it was not too complicated.
Not too complicated, but we definitely came to understand that, it's not that it's not that simple that, like if you feel one fine day you get up in the morning and say, oh, should I be taking vitamin D because I've been seeing a lot in the news. I mean, without any consultation or without even checking or without even testing yourself, please do not go and, pick up vitamin D over the counter and start taking it. That it shouldn't be the case. That's why we thought that we will throw some light on it, enlighten you on what all needs to be checked, and like, do we need it or do we not need it? I think that part is very clear from this conversation.
Yes, because before the conventional system gave D3 only for bones, but last 2 years we saw suddenly D3 has shot up and being prescribed from the last two year scenario. But as functional background, we always looked into D3 very closely for immunity, for our gut health. That's important. It plays an important role for that. But not that we just blindly jump into it. Keep having it.
Yeah. Yes. So if you're a person who's already taking vitamin D, and if you're consulted with a proper physician or a health coach or any medical practitioner, fair enough, like you're doing the right thing. But if you're planning to go ahead and planning to start off take more dose of vitamin D, because we already have getting it from the food, we are getting it from the sunlight if you're regularly going outside, and the body itself has this hormone. But on top of it, if you feel that no, I need it for this reason, go in for a proper consultation and get your vitamin D levels checked. And then, since Anil said that everything works in synchronicity, I mean everything is connected, so it's better to get ourselves checked and then start with these vitamins.
Yes,
anything else you would?
Best is sunlight, because when we go out, you see how nature has made everything. We walk, exercise, we breathe fresh oxygen. The light falls on our skin. It plays many other roles. The light, the circadian rhythm for our sleep. So thousands of other things positive are happening, along with the cholesterol in the skin absorbing the ultraviolet and making D3. So compared to just taking a capsule. But yes, sometimes some people who may be very sick, cannot leave their homes, can never get sunlight, and then they need this supplementation.
Okay, so thank you so much for giving us a very good idea about vitamin D. And next session will be another topic, and we really look forward to hearing from you and asking those important questions, because today's session we thought we'll have this topic because many people ask, like, why is vitamin D so important for us? Can you throw some light? So come up with more questions, and we are ready to give you the right answers.
And bottom line, when we think of D3, for people who are listening, always think of A along with it, and magnesium and K, because it's going to pull in the calcium. So if K is not there, then calcification of soft tissues, kidney stones, calcification of arteries is well known, having with extra calcium floating around.
Even that is not good. Too much of calcium. Okay, so
too much of good things also not good.
Not good for you. I have another question. Does vitamin D have any role to play with cancer?
Yes, D has a role to play with cancer and also with autoimmune diseases, because as we just said, it is influenced with cytokines. Cytokines are there when there's lots of inflammation in the body, or when the immune system has to go into action. Cytokines will signal that to happen. But when that is chronic for a long time, that is happening. So then chronic inflammation can have effect on the genes, and when new cells are being made, produced, and going into differentiation, defects can take place. So D takes care of that. So we need D in the body to take care of proper cell differentiation, and D is also anti-proliferative. Too much of cells growing too fast, D also takes care of that. D is anti-inflammatory. So it plays a very important role for cancer prevention and autoimmune management, like multiple sclerosis and various other things. That's why the D receptors are found all over the body in the cells, despite being mainly. So the immune action happens all over the body.
Right.
Yes. So sunlight. So it goes back to sunlight.
Yes.
Sunlight means fresh air. That's going out every day to the parks and playing around, as we used to do before. Children were playing around, and now children are playing with.
There's no other choice. They are indoors. Whatever is available indoors.
And 2 years anyway, we have been indoors. So it's time that somehow, as soon as possible, we can go back to fresh air, nature, and D is there to take care of all these things.
Yeah.
It's God's with me.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have to be with nature. Yes. Okay. Thank you for this lovely session, Ani. And we'll catch up with you soon, very soon, with another interesting topic. Thank you for listening to us.
Thank you. Thank you. Supplementation.
Okay, so thank you so much for giving us a very good idea about vitamin D. And next session will be another topic, and we really look forward to hearing from you and asking those important questions, because today's session we thought we'll have this topic because many people ask, like, why is vitamin D so important for us? Can you throw some light? So come up with more questions, and we are ready to give you the right answers.
And bottom line, when we think of D3, for people who are listening, always think of A along with it, and magnesium and K, because it's going to pull in the calcium. So if K is not there, then calcification of soft tissues, kidney stones, calcification of arteries is well known, having with extra calcium floating around.
Right. Okay. Even that is not good. Too much of calcium. Okay, so
too much of good things also not good.
Not good for you. I have another question. Does vitamin D have any role to play with cancer?
Yes, D has a role to play with cancer and also with autoimmune diseases, because, as we just said, it is influenced with cytokines. Cytokines are there when there's lots of inflammation in the body, or when the immune system has to go into action. Cytokines will signal that to happen. But when that is chronic, for a long time that is happening, so then chronic inflammation can have effect on the genes, and when new cells are being made, produced, and going into differentiation, defects can take place. So D takes care of that. So we need D in the body to take care of proper cell differentiation, and D is also anti-proliferative. Too much of cells growing too fast, D also takes care of that. D is anti-inflammatory. So it plays a very important role for cancer prevention and autoimmune management, like multiple sclerosis and various other things. That's why the D receptors are found all over the body in the cells, despite being mainly. So the immune action happens all over the body.
Right.
Yes. So sunlight. So it goes back to sunlight.
Yes.
Sunlight means fresh air. That's going out every day to the parks and playing around, as we used to do before. Children were playing around, and now children are playing with.
There's no other choice. They are indoors. Whatever is available indoors.
And 2 years anyway, we have been indoors. So it's time that somehow, as soon as possible, we can go back to fresh air, nature, and D is there to take care of all these things.
Yeah.
It's God's with me.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have to be with nature. Yes. Okay. Thank you for this lovely session, Ani. And we'll catch up with you soon, very soon, with another interesting topic. Thank you for listening to us.
Thank you. Thank you.